Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mother Language Festival, organized by Bengali Literary Resource Center, or BLRC. Why are we calling this the Mother Language Festival, and why is it taking place at this time of the year, you may ask? Well, there is indeed a history behind it. It goes back to 1952 in East Bengal, which is currently known as the country Bangladesh. East Bengal, or East Pakistan, and West Pakistan were one nation at that time, and the government of Pakistan, most notably the Governor General of Pakistan, had publicly announced that the state language of Pakistan, both East and West, will be Urdu and Urdu only, even though the people from East Bengal spoke in Bengali, which was a completely different language. Not only that, but it was also written in a completely different script. It was also proposed to change the script of Bengali into Arabic script, which is the script used for Urdu language. That declaration and proposal were heavily criticized and opposed by the people of East Bengal. In February 21, 1952, a riot took place. During the protest, armed police force opened fire, and several protesters had lost their lives, most notably Rafiq, Salam, Jabbar, Barkot, and Shofiu. It was an event where people sacrificed lives just to be able to speak in their mother language. We always see affection towards many objects in our everyday life, but that event showed affection and passion towards language. Today, this day, that is February 21, has been recognized as International Mother Language Day to show our love and respect to our mother language, regardless of what language we speak. I'd like to invite Dr. Rakhal Sarkar to give his insights about this program today.
Mother Language Day is a very important day in the history of Bengal, particularly Bangladeshis. And this is the day, or this is the event that united people from all walks of life and gave them the strength against any oppression, starting with first the language itself, and then it also contributed to the liberation movement of the country. We always dig into this issue, the Mother Language Day, whenever we as Bengali people face either aggression or some imposition from other forces who did not listen to what we wanted, particularly the language we love so much and language we wish to cherish and cherish in every walks of our life, every things that we do.
Shubo Shenda. I'm delighted to be here to bring greetings on behalf of Premier Kathleen Wynne and to be with you on these traditional lands of so many Indigenous people, including the Mississauga, the New Credit, and Huron-Wendat. And I say that because there's a fantastic parallel with what the Bengali community have done in introducing our country to International Mother's Language Day, and that is it's paralleled with the trials of our Indigenous people in Canada, who also faced cultural extinction by the government authorities in Canada by removing their language, taking children out of their homes and putting them into residential schools where they were forbidden to speak their own language. And what we have seen over the last 10, 20 years is a resurgence in our Indigenous communities as they have gone back to learn their languages of their forefathers, forebearers, or foremothers. Yesterday we were at another event, and this wonderful woman who grew up Mohawk but had no knowledge of her history, later in life is now learning the language, and she spoke with tremendous passion about how important, and it fills a very important void in her life by learning to speak in her language. And so I want to thank the Bengali community. They often say that when you speak to someone who speaks a different language in your own language, that you speak to their head. But when you speak them in their language, you're speaking to their heart. And so I just want to pass on that appreciation that we have as Canadians for the fact that you have introduced International Mother's Language Day, and that it does respect all mother languages regardless of culture, whether it's our First Nations or our immigrants or new Canadians coming from all over the world.
So first, I just want to say thank you for welcoming us here to give greetings. You know, it's interesting when you look around the world today, we're lucky to live in Canada, a multicultural country, and yet when you look around the world today, you see an assault on ideas of cultural diversity, an assault on ideas of basic equality and multiculturalism, and we really can't take Canada for granted. And I think International Mother Language Day is an important day to reflect upon, yes, the importance of cultural diversity, but also the importance of continued participation. And what do I mean by that? So 65 years ago, a small group of students protested in then East Pakistan to recognize Bangla as an official language. And many students were arrested, and at least 4 were killed. And out of that peaceful protest, we fast forward 65 years, and here we are today talking about International Mother Language Day. And not only that, but the makings of independence of Bangladesh were born out of that student protest in many ways. And you can see the impact that what a small group of students and what peaceful protest can accomplish. Another example related to International Mother Language Day, almost 20 years ago, Rafiqul Islam, a Canadian Bangladeshi living in Vancouver, writes a letter to then Secretary General Kofi Annan and asks to recognize International Mother Language Day. And a year later, International Mother Language Day is recognized by UNESCO, and it's not just a Bangladeshi celebration, it is for all cultures and communities to recognize the importance of cultural linguistic diversity. Little actions can make a big difference. And whether it's peaceful protest, whether it's writing a letter, whether it's passing on your language and including written and reading of the language to the next generation, all of these small steps can make a big difference. And so if I think of anything on this International Mother Language Day, it's the importance of continued participation, continued active participation, and remember that we really can't take multiculturalism and we can't take Canada for granted. Thanks so much.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. So we are all here today to acknowledge how important linguistic diversity actually is and how it is a fundamental part of a multifaceted nation.
Hi, my name is Alina. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to talk about, but yeah, as already mentioned, I was born in Russia and I came to Canada when I was 7, so it's been a while. Linguistic diversity is pretty important considering the country that we live in.
So our next guest, our next youth speaker is Joshua. Joshua is a student at University of Toronto, and a very interesting fact about him is that he was born and raised in Canada, but he's really interested in the language Bengali, which we don't really see every single day. So he's one of the very unique guests we have today.
So language is truly fascinating. We can either view it as a major barrier to communication, but it can also be seen as a doorway to provide us with information about unfamiliar worlds that we might not know about. So politically, the world can seem really nasty, and historically, there have been long-standing tensions that have been dividing us. So we have a tool to unite us, and that tool I consider as language. There's a quote by Nelson Mandela that says, "If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart."
Okay, so hi, my name is Asif Kareem, as she already said, and I moved to Canada when I was only around 5, and at that time, I could only speak my mother language, which was Bangla. Since then, my parents have tried numerous times to try to teach me to read and write in the language. But because in Canada we have to learn French and English, and then for religious reasons I had to learn to read in Arabic, I didn't have the time to learn to read and write in Bangla.
And because now I look back and I wish that I knew the culture and I knew their language, because it helps with my identity and myself.
ক্ষোভে ফেটে পড়ল।
ওরাই আমার মুখের ভাষা কাইরা নিতে চায়, ওরাই আমার মুখের ভাষা কাইরা নিতে চায়। ওরা কথায় কথায় শিকল পরায় আমার হাতে পায়, ওরা কথায় কথায় শিকল পরায় আমার হাতে পায়। ওরাই আমার মুখের ভাষা কাইরা নিতে চায়।
Thank you everyone for coming here today. I'd like to start this discussion by asking a question to Matthew Kelway. So what do you think, how can individuals who were born here or came here at a very early age identify with and preserve their mother tongue, assuming it's not English, while being respectful to other languages and cultures as well?
Well, I think, good afternoon everybody. Kamanachan. I think I may be the wrong person to answer that question. You know, my own personal history, I was adopted as a baby and raised in an English-speaking family, encouraged, of course, through school to speak French. But I come from the privileged white English-speaking community in this country, and so have very little to offer others who are newcomers to Canada and raising kids to speak a second language. I have found in the International Mother Language Day a wonderful treasure for Canada, and did my best to spread it. So that we had, through first of all a motion in the House of Commons which failed, but then a private member's bill in the House of Commons which was never got to second reading, for Canada to recognize International Mother Language Day as a statement, so that we could be what we properly ought to be, which is to fully recognize our diversity and multiculturalism in Canada, and perhaps equally as importantly to fully recognize, as I said in my introductory speech of the private members bill, the fact that there are at least 60 indigenous languages in this country.
In many essential life-saving things we have, language is one of them. If you do not speak, you do not exist.
And so she's now, she's about 20, 21, and she's now going back and trying to learn her mother language, and she's doing it with her family and with her friends, because there's a huge gap between the, some of the elders, and then when, the 60s scoop and all of this stuff happened, so there's people that know the language, but then there's this whole, her parents didn't know her own language.
I'm going to approach the question of mother language with my personal story. I left home when I was 8 years old, and I grew up in a place which was very far away from my mother and my mother language.
The drama which was going on, the dance drama about the Bengali language in Pakistan and how it was suppressed in the beginning, was a sad story. Muhammad Ali Jinnah at the very beginning said the language of Pakistan will be Urdu and Urdu, although the majority of people living in Pakistan at that time were Bengalis. That was a sad thing to do. So on behalf of the Pakistanis and an born Urdu speaking, I apologize to you all for that tragedy. Preserving your language is important.
Me and my grandfather spent a lot of time together, and most of them used to be him telling me stories about the war between Bangladesh and Pakistan. It was in Bangla, so I used to get a little bit confused and left behind. It used to take me time to catch up on whatever he said.
এটা পড়তে না পারলে টাঙ্গালের মতো আশা করব কেউ অন্তত তাদেরকে শোনাবে। আমি তো ওদের জন্যই লিখি, কিন্তু এগুলি কি ওদের কাছে পৌঁছবে ঠিক মতো? আমি হাসতে হাসতে বলছি, কিন্তু সঙ্গে দীর্ঘশ্বাসটি আমার মনে হয় গোপন থাকছে না। তবু আমি আশা করব কেউ না কেউ পড়ে তো শোনাবে।